With roller coasters trying to break the height, speed and length record all the time, I thought I'd try something a little bit different. So I ask you this question: can you design a good coaster in less than 1,000 feet? This is going to be my first coaster I've made on PC, and the first coaster I've made using the No Limits mod, which allows you to add the shuttle launch. But you can still do this on console by using the Torque coaster model, or by designing something entirely different. For this challenge, I'm going to use the vector track type with the infinite trains and the No Limits mod so I can do the shuttle launch. Let's begin. So we're just starting the time lapse here. As you can see, I'm putting in the shuttle launch. The track pieces are invisible, I don't really know why that is, but I'll go back and add them in later. The reason why I've made it a shuttle launch coaster is just to really maximise the length of the ride with the shortest amount of track possible, so you can get the most thrills in a shorter space of time. Just putting in the first inversion here, which is going to be a classic Gerstlauer dive loop. It's just a nice standard transition to get the train turned around to complete the rest of the layout. So as we're just coming here into starting to build the stall, this will be one of the first stalls that Gerstlauer have ever done. You've seen one on their newest concept coaster, which is called Palindrome, which I think has only just started construction, but that features, I think, one of their first ever stalls. So it's very similar to like Intamin's stalls and Velocicoaster and everything. Just a lot of hang time up at the top. Just adding in a second airtime hill there, and then the other spike to stop the first half of the ride. Again, this is very similar to the one on Palindrome that has the kind of airtime hill going up the spike, which should give a nice pop of negative Gs. So just here, I've started the process of looking through all the different settings of the ride, making sure it goes through the station the right amount of times, and then just obviously testing it, see if you can make it around the layout. You can see that the forward launch wasn't strong enough. So you just go back through, tinker around with it, and it makes it only just around the whole layout there. So reduce the stall height, and then I've reduced the inversion height there as well. Let it go around a few more times. Mess around with the friction settings, and you can see it makes it around completely, and the length comes in just under 1,000 feet. So I'm just going around now and smoothing the layout. If you want to know how I smooth coasters, the link will be in the description and in the card above for my smoothing coasters tutorial video. Just going through here, smoothing all the elements out into each other so they've got nice transitions. As you can see, I had a bit of a problem with the stall, so I went about redesigning it and took out the stall that I'd made a more accurate one with the correct curvature over the top, because you don't want it to be completely flat. You want the top of the stall to be curved. And then just by doing that, I've made it nice and accurate and the correct profiling. And there you go, the coaster's complete and you can just see it going around. I'm quite happy with the layout of it. I think I've got the right amount of thrill in just for the like the height of it and the length of it, because I wanted to give quite a good thrilling ride, but obviously not so ridiculously intense that it's like just purely for thrill seekers. It could be quite a good entry for maybe some younger kids into the more thrilling rides, because obviously this isn't the most extreme you can go. But I quite like it in terms of how short it is. You can still build thrill coasters and just coasters in general at this length, and that's what I did this challenge to show. I think it's worked out quite well. I'd be interested to see what anyone else can do with the 1,000-foot challenge. Obviously there's all sorts of different coasters in the game that you could use. It'd be really interesting to see what you can create. Now let's get on and add some of the realism features to the ride. So the first thing I did to add the realism features was to create a blueprint of the coaster. This is so that I can add the actual LSM launch straight back in. For some reason in the No Limits mod, the multipass launch track section doesn't actually exist, it's just blank. So you can see here I've just made a duplicate coaster so it's the same height, and then added the actual LSM launch straight, and you can just slide this piece of track over and it looks like it was always meant to be there. Now, as we all know, the in-game supports in Planet Coaster are never normally the best, so it's custom supporting time. I've gone in and added about half of the supports in custom, just in some of the higher stress areas that the game doesn't really understand how to do. So I'll just put in your normal supporting beams and then the footers, and as you can see here, I'm adding in a custom support structure for the two spikes. I thought it'd look quite a nice statement to have that as all custom supported. So I've supported each side of it, and then I'm just going to duplicate it, slide it over, and then connect them both. The last section of the ride now, I'm just adding in the support structure for the transfer track area. It's always important to have a transfer track on your coaster, just so it's not always the same train that's in service and you can swap out the other train for maintenance. Obviously this coaster can only handle one train at once, but it's always important to have that, so you can just have the I-beams and then the rails sliding it over. And there we have it, the coaster's complete. I'm really happy with this one. It's really interesting to create a coaster under 1,000 feet because it really limits you as to what you can create, but that's never a bad thing. Limitations when you're creating can often lead to much more exciting things that you've made like this. So thank you for watching as usual, you're all amazing, and if you've got any other ideas like this, any of the challenge videos that you'd like me to do, comment them down below and I might choose one of them to create into a challenge video like this.